1. A bilateral investment treaty between India and the US. GS Paper 2. Bilateral, regional and global groupings and agreements involving India and affecting India's interests. What is the context is about? A bilateral investment treaty between India and the US looks difficult in the present circumstances unless either of the two sides blinks. India adopted a new model BIT in 2015 as a reaction to foreign corporations suing the country under different BITs, and perhaps with the objective to immunize itself from claims of foreign corporations under international law. The Indian model BIT came at a time when Prime Minister Modi was and is busy convincing the US and other foreign corporations to make in India. What is Bilateral Investment Treaty? A bilateral investment treaty, BIT, is an agreement establishing the terms and conditions for private investment by nationals and companies of one state in another state. BITs are established through trade pacts. BITs impose obligations under international law on host states to protect foreign investment from the other state. A balanced BIT that protects foreign investment without unduly compromising the host state's right to regulate. The BIT program's basic aims are to protect investment abroad, encourage the adoption of market-oriented domestic policies that treat private investment in an open, transparent, and non-discriminatory way, and support the development of international law standards consistent with these objectives. There is a yawning gap between the two sides on core foreign investment protection standards, as reflected in their respective model BITs, which makes BIT negotiations really difficult. The differences in foreign investment protection standards between two countries. 1. The US model BIT contains a Most Favored Nation (MFN) provision, a cornerstone of non-discrimination in international economic relations, which is missing in the Indian model. It will be very difficult for India to convince the US to have a BIT without a MFN provision. From the US's perspective, this would mean that American businesses would have no remedy under international law if the latter were discriminated against in India. 2. The Indian model completely excludes taxation from the purview of the BIT, a direct response to Vodafone and Cairn Energy bringing BIT claims against India for imposing taxes retrospectively. However, in the US model, foreign investors can assert claims that taxation measures, such as confiscatory taxation, involve an expropriation of foreign investment. Given India's recent record in administering its taxation laws that has made foreign investors jittery, it will be quite difficult for it to convince the US to agree to completely exclude taxation from the BIT. 3. The Indian model completely excludes issuance of compulsory licenses, CLs, and revocation of intellectual property rights, IPR, from its purview. On the other hand, the US model BIT excludes issuance of CLs and revocation of IPR only from the purview of the expropriation provision. 4. The major difference between the two models is on the issue of Investor-State Dispute Settlement (ISDS) provisions. ISDS provision in BITs allows foreign investors to directly bring claims against the host state under international law, without the approval of the investor's home state. The Indian model BIT, unlike the US model, mandatorily requires foreign investors to litigate in domestic courts for 5 years before pursuing a claim under international law. This is not at all an attractive proposition for US companies in India because of the overstretched Indian judicial system where more than 3 crore cases are pending. Why BIT negotiations really difficult between India and US? The issue of BIT negotiations cannot be quarantined, sealed off, from the larger economic issues between the two countries, especially the trade battle at the World Trade Organization. The US continues to accuse India for stalling the trade talks at WTO, which India vehemently counters. India plans to file as many as 16 disputes against the US in the WTO challenging the US's renewable energy programs. All these developments might have soured the environment for healthy bilateral economic engagement, which could impact BIT negotiations.